everybody. Glad you stopped by. Let's see what's going on with Julie. She was getting ready to go visit Uncle David with her dad for the first time. Dad had said that it was the uncle's 40th birthday, and she was wondering, what do you get him for his 40th birthday? And she kind of like was looking at the bag, and she knows it was not a painting, but it makes this funny, muffled, rattling sound. Let's see. I was just unrolling the top to peek inside when my father came back through the front door. I dropped the bag and straightened up, and when he slid behind the wheel, I said, "It's okay with you, isn't it?" He just looked at me, his hand on the ignition. "I'm not ruining your day with him or anything, am I?" He cranked the motor and said, "No, sweetheart. I'm glad you're coming." We didn't say much to each other on the drive over to Greenhaven. He seemed to want to look at the scenery, and well, I had a lot of questions, but none I wanted to ask. It was nice, though, riding with my father. It was like the silence connected us in a way that explanations never could. When we arrived at Greenhaven, my father parked the truck, but we didn't get out right away. It takes some getting used to, Juliana, but it does grow on you. They grow on you. They're all good people. I nodded, but felt oddly afraid. "Come on, then," he said, taking the bag from the seat. "Let's go inside." Greenhaven didn't look like any kind of hospital to me, but it didn't look quite like a house either. It was too long and rectangular for that. The walkway had a faded green awning that covered it, and flower beds alongside with freshly planted pansies that looked muddied and slightly askew. The grass was patchy, with three deep holes dug near the building. "The residents tend the grounds," my father said. "It's part of their occupational training program, and it's therapeutic. Those holes are for the future homes of peach, plum, and pear." "Fruit trees?" "Yes, the vote caused quite a commotion." "Among the residents?" "That's right." He swung open one of the glass double doors and said, "Come on in." It was cool inside, and it smelled of pine cleaner and bleach with something vaguely pungent underneath. There wasn't a reception desk or a waiting area, just a large intersection with white walls and a narrow wooden bench. To the left was a big room with a television and several rows of plastic chairs. To the right were open office doors, and beside us were two pine armoires. One was open, with half a dozen gray sweaters hung neatly in a row. "Good morning, Robert," a woman called through one of the office doors. "Good morning, Josie," my father replied. She came out to meet us, saying, "David's up and about. He has been since around 6. Mabel tells me it's his birthday today." "Mabel is right again." He turned to me and smiled. "Josie, it is my pleasure to introduce my daughter, Juliana. Juliana, meet Josie Gruenmaker." "Well, now, isn't this nice?" Josie said, clasping my hand. "I recognize you from David's photo album. You're getting ready to graduate into high school, isn't that right?" I blinked at her, then looked at my dad. I'd never really thought of it that way, but I could see that he had. "Yes, I suppose I am." "Josie's the site administrator. And," Josie added with a laugh, "I'm not graduating nowhere. Been here 17 years and I'm staying put." The phone rang and she hurried off, saying, "Gotta get that. I'll meet up with you in a bit. Check the rec room, then his room. You'll find him." My dad led me around a corner as we proceeded down the hallway. The underlying pungent part of the smell got stronger, like the place had had years of mystery urinators, with no one quite neutralizing what had been tagged. Down the hall was a small person hunched in a wheelchair. At first I thought it was a child, but as we approached, I could see it was a woman. She had almost no hair, and as she gave my dad a toothless smile, she grabbed his hand and spoke. My heart bottomed out. The sounds she made were choked and lost on her tongue. Nothing she said was intelligible, yet she looked at my father with such intensity, like of course he understood what she was saying. To my complete surprise, he said, "You're absolutely right, Mabel. It is today, which is why I'm here." He held up the grocery bag and whispered, "I brought him a little gift." "Whoa," she said. "How'd you know?" She gurgled at him until he patted her hand and said, "I'm much too predictable, I am afraid. But he enjoys them," and he noticed her gaze shift in my direction. "Hoo-ha," she said. "This is my daughter, Juliana. Juliana, I would like you to meet the extraordinary Miss Mabel. She can remember everyone's birthday, and she has a real passion for strawberry milkshakes." I managed a smile and whispered, "Nice to meet you." But all I got in return was a suspicious scowl. "Well, we're off to David's," my father said. Then he shook the bag. "Don't spill the beans if he happens by." I followed him to a bedroom doorway where he stopped and called, "David? David, it's Robert." A man appeared at the door, a man I would never have picked out as my father's brother. He was stocky, with thick brown glasses, and his face looked puffy and pale. But he threw his arms around my father's chest and cried, "Robert, you're here!" "Yes, I am, little brother." I followed them into the room and saw that the walls were covered in a collage of puzzles. They'd been glued directly to the walls and even up on the ceiling. It was cozy and comfortable and interesting. I felt as though I had entered a quilted cave. My father held his brother at arm's length and said, "And look who I've brought along." For a split second, David looked almost frightened. Then my father said, "It's my daughter, Juliana." David's face broke into a smile. "Juliana!" he cried. Then he practically tackled me with a hug. I thought I was going to suffocate. My face was buried as he squeezed the air out of me and rocked from side to side. Then, with a giggle, he let go and flopped into a chair. "Is my birthday." "I know, Uncle David. Happy birthday." He giggled again. "Thank you." "We brought you a present," my dad said as he opened the paper bag. Before he had it out, before I saw the actual size, I remembered the sound it had made when I had shaken it in the truck. Of course, I thought, a puzzle. Uncle David guessed it too. "A puzzle?" "Not just a puzzle," my dad said as he pulled it out of the bag. "A puzzle and a pinwheel." Dad had wrapped the puzzle box up in pretty blue paper and had taped the red and yellow pinwheel on as a bow. Uncle David snatched the pinwheel right off and blew, first gently, then fiercely in great spitty bursts. "Orange!" he cried between blows. "Orange!" Very gently, Dad took it from him and smiled. "Red and yellow do make orange, don't they?" David tried to grab it back, but my father said, "We'll take it outside later. The wind will blow it for you," and pressed the puzzle back into his hands. As the wrapping paper fell in shreds on the floor, I leaned in to see what sort of puzzle my father had bought him and gasped. 3,000 pieces? And the image was simply white clouds and blue sky. No shading, no trees, nothing but clouds and sky. As someone who loves to do puzzles, I can tell you that would be incredibly challenging. Horribly so. Oh my goodness. Uncle David seems to have some severe issues, doesn't he? We'll find out more about him next time. Thanks for stopping by. Be safe, be healthy, be kind to one another. See ya.